This is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 189. Today, I'm going to be talking about finding deals in today's market. So make sure you tune in to that. But before we hop into it, this is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, and my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I am documenting my journey in real estate and business and also bringing on high-level investors to share their stories about how they built their businesses. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at chris.rickenbaugh. That's chris.REICHENBACH. Go leave us a like, rating, and review wherever you're listening to this episode because it only helps us spread the message and help other people get started in real estate, get started in business, and basically just progress. So I would be ecstatic if you guys did that, but let's hop into today's episode. So finding deals in today's market is, from everybody I'm talking to and in the circle with, it's tough right now. All across the board, wherever you're at. And you got to be really, really good at finding deals because I think where this is really starting from is that all of this information on how to get started, that real estate is not a secret anymore. All of this information is out there and it's free information. You could go to YouTube University, look it up and start doing it tomorrow. So there's so many more people in the market trying to buy houses, whether you're an investor and you're competing against normal home buyers. So it's very, very different. And with the level of AI, with the level of CRMs that are coming out, it's just getting way more difficult. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is look outside of the box, and that's where I've had some success and I've had some better conversations, and I'm nowhere near an expert on this. I'm just trying to do the thing, and like I said, I'm documenting what I'm doing in real estate. So I could come on here in 5 more episodes and realize, hey guys, that was completely wrong, but this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm having some success. So I wanted to be able to spread the word on how I'm doing that, and the main part of this is going to be offering at your number. So many of these houses, especially in my market right now, is very, very pricey. Everybody saw what happened to the real estate, a couple years ago, and they think their house is worth way more than what it actually is worth because it doesn't matter what it really appraises for when somebody's trying to sell it. I talked to a seller the other day. They're like, well, my house is worth this. I'm not dropping the price any lower. It's like, okay, well, you're not going to be able to sell the house then unless you sell or finance it, do creative or something, but you ain't getting a cash offer. And that's something that is really, really hard for, people who aren't in the game to wrap their brain around. And, for newer investors and I would say maybe for people who have been doing this for a long time, maybe it's just a little bit harder right now, but you just have to throw in your offer at your number and see what happens. Have a really good conversation with this agent who's listing this house. Figure out what's going on with, what's going on with the listing? Hey, does the seller just not want to drop their price? Who's the one doing the, negotiating? Or does the agent even know what the seller wants to sell for? Some people say, I can't give out that information. It might be because they don't know the information of why that seller is selling. They're like, hey, this is the price, make your offer, and that's it. It's like, that's going to be really, really hard to go off of, and you're probably not going to get anywhere, but maybe they relist with a different agent, and maybe you'll have more luck, but you're playing the follow-up game. So what I'm doing right now is mainly just offering at my number. I'm calling these agents, having a conversation on houses that, that look decent to me on the numbers. We're maybe not super close, but I'm being able to throw in the offer. And I want to talk about how I'm finding those because, the offer is the biggest thing. One of my mentors, he talked about how he just got $100,000 off of what the listing price was just because he sent in an offer. So that doesn't mean the deals aren't out there. It just means that they're not, abundant, or I wouldn't say abundant. You just have to make the deal, and that's plain and simple. So what am I doing today? I'm using 3 different websites. So I'm using homes.com. And, that's probably not the best, but why I like using it, I can get on there and I can see what's been on the market for a certain amount of time. And it excludes the other things. So if you go on Zillow, you can type in what's been on the market for, a month or 12 days or 12 months, but it doesn't take out how long it's been on there for. It just takes out anything that's been over 12 months. So if a house has been sitting for a year, it's not going to show anything over a year. So why I like homes.com is you can say, I only want to see houses that have been on the market 90 plus days, and it'll exclude anything under that 90 number. So that means this house has been sitting for a while. The agent's starting to get a little bit nervous on, their listing because they're not getting offers, or they are, or, they're just not getting what they want. So it's sitting on the market and they're more likely to accept the offer. So once you find a house that you like, I then take it over to Zillow, and that gives me a little bit better information than homes.com can, because I can see exactly when they sold it and what they sold it for. So a lot of these where we're looking at creative opportunities to be able to purchase, I can see when they purchased it last. So within the last 3 or 4 years, if they've done that, I can then take that over to Deal Machine and do a deeper dive into possibly what their interest rate is, possibly connect with the seller themselves, or just have a better conversation with the agent, because I already know this information when I'm calling the agent, but I'm just trying to get a better better feel on where the seller is at. Hey, is this seller really looking to get out? My favorite's when the agent tells me, they're like, well, they want to sell the house. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's why it's on the market. So being able to be educated before calling the agent, because you're able to lead the questions a little bit better. And once you understand how to ask those questions to the agents, then you can possibly get a little bit deeper in and get to the pain point of what the seller is actually trying to sell for. And one that I'm actually looking at right now is, a lady she just wants to move, and the agent says, well, she just wants to move. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't really give me a lot of information. So we finally hop on with the seller and we talk about what she's actually trying to do. She's like, hey, I just want to buy an RV. I want to go travel to see my kids. And I said, okay, well, what's the RV cost? And then we start diving into some of those numbers to be able to figure out a creative option to be able to sell their house at the number they want and get them what they want, because they're selling that house for a reason. You just have to be able to get to the pain point. And sometimes with these houses that are on the market, that agent is kind of that stopping point. So it really is up to the agent on how much they want to give. But if they want to sell that house, then they're motivated as well. And if you're paying their commission, they're getting the job done. They're not just handing over the lead to you, they're working with you. And that's what I'm really trying to do with finding these houses on the market. So that's all I got for you today. We do have a lot of guests coming up. I sat down the other day and really just reached out to a bunch of people in my area that I think are doing some really cool things, and got 4 or 5 guests already lined up and booked. So next week on Friday for episode 191, we are going to be having a guest, and the Fridays following. So make sure you tune in for those. Got some really cool stuff coming for you, and I'd be happy to take any suggestions of who you want to see on the podcast, because, I kind of run out of options sometimes. I'm just reaching out to people who I really want to have cool conversations with, and anybody specific. I'd be happy to reach out to them, have a conversation, and see if they're the right guest to be able to have on the show. So this is all I got for you today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. This is Chris Rickenbaugh signing off for the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast.